Hello, and this is the last example of the 4.2 notes, and it looks like I wrote 4.4 point, so I must have been excited that this is the fourth and last example. And we're going to start out, this is going to look very familiar. Again, I'm going to have delta y, and delta y a little bit different here. I've got b, which is 1, minus a negative 1, which is my a over n, and so I have 2 over n. And my c sub I, my a is a negative 1 plus my delta x times my I. And so now I'm going to take the limit as n goes to infinity of the summation of I equals 1 to n. And in my function, I'm going to have a negative 1 plus 2I over n, that quantity squared, minus negative 1 plus 2I over n, that quantity cubed. So here's my y squared, here's my y cubed, times my delta y, which is 2 over n. Alright, so that gives me the limit as n goes to infinity, summation of I equals 1 to n. Again, I'm going to do binomial expansion here. And so I'm going to have 1 minus 4I over n, because I'm going to multiply these two together. That's why it's negative, and then double it, and that's why I get a 4I, plus 4I squared over n squared. So it's just that term times itself, minus, and I'm going to take the negative 1, I'm going to cube it, plus negative 3, excuse me, I almost forgot that, negative 1 squared times 2I over n, plus 3 times a negative 1 to the first, times 2I over n, that thing squared, plus 2I over n, that quantity cubed, times my delta, oops, I probably should put parentheses here, times my delta y. Wow! This is quite the problem. Who assigned this one? I guess I did. Alright, so I have n going to infinity, summation of I equals 1 to n. And I'm going to keep this in parentheses, I think, one more time, for I over n plus 4I squared over n squared, minus, what do I have here? I have a negative 1 plus, this will be positive, so 3 times 2 is 6I over n. This will be negative, so I have a minus, and 2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12. I squared over n squared plus 8, because that's what 2 cubed is, I the third n cubed times 2 over n. Alrighty, now this is the limit as n goes to infinity. Let's distribute and see what we can gather together. So I have 1 minus 4I over n plus 4I squared over n squared plus 1 minus 6I over n plus 12I squared over n squared minus 8I cubed over n cubed times 2 over n. Now I'm going to do a couple of steps in a row here, so bear with me. 1 plus 1 is 2 times 2 over n is 4 over n, because 2 times 2 is 4. Alright. I have a minus 4i. A minus 6i is going to give me a minus 10i times 2 is a minus 20i over n times n is n squared. Alright, I have 4i squared plus 12i squared is 16i squared times 2 is 32i squared over n squared times n is n cubed. So that took care of these. Cross them out. And then I'm going to have a minus 8 times 2 is 16i cubed over n to the 4th. Wow. So that's going to give me the limit as n approaches infinity of 1 over n summation of I equals 1 to n of 4 minus 20 over n squared times the summation of I equals 1 to n of I plus 32 over n cubed times the summation of I equals 1 to n of I squared minus 16 over n to the 4th times the summation of I equals 1 to n of I cubed, which gives me the limit as n approaches infinity. Well, this is going to be 4 times n, which is 4n, times 1 over n is 4. Minus 20 over n squared times n plus 1 over 2 plus 32 n cubed times n plus 1 times 2n plus 1. I'm cramping for space so you can see, over 6 minus 16 over n to the 4th times n squared times n plus 1 squared over 4. Wow. Let's simplify this and see. I might have to go up here. I'm going to take this right here. Follow me. I'm going to go over here. So follow this loop-de-loop. Sorry about that. So I'm going to have the limit as n goes to infinity of 4 minus 10 times n plus 1 over n plus, well, the 32 and the 6 can simplify, and they're both divisible by 2, so I'm going to get 16 times n plus 1 times 2n plus 1 all over 3n squared. So that took care of this one, took care of that one, took care of this one. And now I'm going to have a minus 4 times n plus 1, that quantity squared, over n squared. And that's going to give me the limit as n approaches infinity of 4 minus 10n minus 10 over n plus 16 times 2n squared plus 3n plus 1 over 3n squared minus 4 times n squared plus 2n plus 1. Barely got that in there. Over n squared. Alright, so let's see if I can do this. The limit of this is going to be 4 minus 10. Now, when I distribute this 16, this is really all I care about is this term right here, because this has a degree of 2 and this is a degree of 2. So I'm going to have 32 as a leading coefficient over 3, which is my leading coefficient here. So I'm going to have 32 thirds. And then I'm going to have minus. Again, when I distribute this, all I care is about that first term because it has the same degree as this one. And I'm going to have a minus 4n squared over n squared, and so I'm going to have a minus 4. And I'm happy to see that because those will eliminate. And so I'm left with a negative 10 plus 32 thirds. Well, this is a minus 30 thirds plus 32 thirds. And I get 2 thirds. So that was a lot of work for 2 thirds, but that's my answer.